Okay, so my opponent says that we should pay college athletes, and I think we shouldn't, because although it sounds great to pay college athletes for all the hard work that we put in, there's simply not enough funds. Yes, it is a $1 billion sports organization, but according to Andrew Zimbalist, an econ professor at Smith College and the writer of the book called Economics in Major Sporting Events, in the 2010 season, with the exception of less than 20 schools and 120 athletic football programs in Division I, with the exception of less than 20 schools, the 120 athletic programs in Division I did not generate profits each year. So that means that they did lose money, and it is, if you're already losing money, you can't pay all your players, or even some of them. And Josh Cooper, a sports broadcaster in West Virginia, he points out that colleges already pay a lot of money for coaches, athletic directors, scholarships, and to build facilities. And players are also being paid with free educations, with their scholarships, and that kind of thing. My opponent also says that players are being exploited, and some of these big schools, like the cost of their education that is being paid for is over $200,000. So you can't really say that a person is being exploited when they're pretty much being paid to play over $200,000 for 4 years. Also, according to NCAA Title IX, the federal law that says you must spend proportionally the same amount of money on women's athletics as you do with men's. So that would mean that if you end up paying your college basketball players, your men's college basketball players, you will have to pay your college women's basketball players. So that's also going to cost a lot more money. Also, if you end up paying since only a handful of these schools can afford to pay their players, it will result in unfair recruitment, and there will be a continuance of certain schools always being on top and always winning, and certain schools never winning because they just can't afford the demands of the better players. My opponent said that coaches are getting paid too much to coach college football teams, and while they do get paid a lot, a coach can make or break a team. An example of that would be UCLA. The last however many years they've been terrible, and this year they've just been taking off and they've been doing great. Also, if you end up paying your college athletes, a lot of people think that it'll stop the corruption of them getting illegal stipends. But according to Blake Williams, an Ohio State University sports journalist, he says that as long as someone is willing to pay the extra money or give the extra perk, there will be someone with their hand out willing to take it. Which is true, because if you're making $4,000 a season, that's still not a lot of money, but if someone's willing to pay you $5,000 more, why wouldn't you take it? Also, according to Josh Cooper, a sports broadcaster in West Virginia, he said it would ruin a culture. The players are students like you, and paying them would separate them from the rest of the student body, as if to say that they were more important. Also, there are many different kinds of questions that will come along with paying college athletes, and some of these are: who will get paid more? How will you justify the extra payment of certain people? Because if you're going to say you're going to pay the quarterback more, well, how are you going to say that you're going to pay him more when you're not going to pay the running backs just as much, or the linemen when they're all just as important? Also, who will set the pay rate? And can college athletes negotiate it, and then can they get fired? It's not as cut and dry as it may seem just to say that you're going to pay a bunch of college athletes. Also, will there be labor unions for them, and will they be able to go on strike? These are all questions that many people overlook when they suggest it. Also, another thing that can really factor into it is, according to Jeanette Howard, the reporter for ESPN News, if college athletes got paychecks, it doesn't merely stop at giving them checks. There are workers' comp issues, taxes, gender equality, and insurance issues to take into play. Also, my opponent said that the school benefits directly from the players, and he said that a person's jersey being sold with his number on it is a direct identification of who he is, but there are players in the past that have had those same numbers, and who's to say that it's not a jersey from a different team member from years back? Thank you.